So what's being suggested is that everything seems to be an autocorrect. Although there's nothing wrong or incorrect, there's no correct or incorrect, everything autocorrects itself to nothing. Everything something is nothing, everything is nothing. It's autocorrected. It's not noticeable. It's not a process. It's not the doing. It's the undoing of the doing. It's like sanity autocorrects dualistic insanity. There's nothing wrong or right. The autocorrect, like the open field where wrong or right is allowed. Where you and I meet, autocorrects into nothing. There's no union because there's no division. There's no final step. There's no agenda because there's no purpose to this. The autocorrect is the seeing that everything is already innocent. The autocorrect is the constant seeing that nothing is missing. The autocorrect is correction that nothing is ever wrong. The autocorrect is seeing that the innocence in everything. The autocorrect is the instance, the radiance of this. The autocorrect is the resonance even when nothing is understood. So there's this appearance of dualism. There's appearance of thoughts. There's appearance of others. There's appearance of you and me. There's an appearance of problems. There's appearance of conflict. There's appearance of everything is an appearance. But once it's seen that this appearance is not really appearing at all, it's almost like an autocorrect automatically happening. No one's doing it. No one's correcting it. Kind of like what was being discussed earlier, that when it's seen that this is an illusion, when it's seen that everything is a story, even the feeling that this is a real story is autocorrected to nothing. Simply nothing. And not even nothing, because that's just something that's just an idea. So any idea or thought, feelings, sensations is autocorrected. There's not a noticing of it because there is seemingly a focusing on time. But if you really look at it, everything turns to nothing. Buildings turns to nothing, it turns to dust. Even the sun will be nothing. Even the universe will be nothing. There's just this illusion of time as something. When it's autocorrected that there's no time, there's just this timelessness. So there's no beginning or end. The seeming problem, although there's no problem, is that kind of like when when something's being autocorrected, there is a seeming disregard of it, that it's really nothing. It likes to create the story. It likes to prolong the drama, although it's really nothing. Everything is already autocorrected. It likes the seeking. It likes the finding. It likes the losing. Because what is being maintained only appears in time. But since this is just timelessness itself appearing as this segmented time, the autocorrection is just that, is this really happening? Who is it happening to? Why is it happening? So all of this seeming errors, because this is not separate. So there's always this apparent error of, of this suggestion that there is a subject and object. And when there's this seemingly autocorrection or the seeing, the clarity that there's nothing separate. It's like, oh, okay. Or sometimes when have you ever had a really simple problem that becomes a mountain? Have you ever had? And then who's having it really? And it just keeps on going and going and going and going. And then sometimes you'll catch yourself it's like a rerun. It's like a repeat of something that's not even happening. That's not even happening. Or sometimes there's this thinking that, oh, you know what, this person must think something like this about me. You will never know what the other person's thinking because there's no one there. But there's this error, seeming error, that there is somewhat of a story, something kind of like that's happening, that's not even really happening. So the autocorrect, it's like a mechanism that's not really there, but everything seems to be dualistic, is seen as just this whole. When the dropping away of the one that is seeking the energy of that, the neurosis of that, the intensity, the seriousness, when it's autocorrected that it's really nothing, laughter usually happens. You're like, oh shit, it was really nothing. But the seriousness sometimes wants to figure out what is this that's being talked about. When it's autocorrected to no one knows, then there seems to be a, okay, well, there's nothing that can be done. It's always peace. There's always peace for anything to arise, any kind of conflict, any kind of feelings, any sensations, anything. There's always silence, peace, emptiness, nothing. But somehow the opposite of autocorrection is there's a suggestion that there is this oppositeness. There's a suggestion that there is this separation. There's a suggestion that everything is divided. There's a suggestion that I am doing all of this. So the autocorrect is, although there's no time, seemingly, when you go to sleep at night or when you're doing something that you love, everything is reset. It's like autocorrected to nothing again. It's like rebooted, like a computer. And then it comes back again. It has this programming again of insecurity, programming of not enough, programming of suffering, programming of this. When it sees that that's just really nothing, when it's autocorrected into nothing, it's not a denial, it's not a negation, because to negate something that doesn't exist doesn't really make sense. So this is just a seeing through that nothing is really happening. Everything is just a subjected reality. It's just an idea of what is happening. It's a perception. It's an idea, it's a thought, it's something that has meaning, it has something that has a purpose, it's something. For something to happen, it has to come out of nothing. So autocorrection is, if you catch yourself, the story you'll just keep on going and going. I'll have a one-on-one with someone and I'll be like, yep, it's just coming up with a story. It's just coming up with a story. It's just a story coming up with a story. And there's no basis to it. But it doesn't really get looked at, right? It's kind of like, they will just kind of saying that, well, you know what, the reason that there's severe kind of like seeking and all this kind of stuff is because when I was kind of like thinking, it's just all stories. So there's nothing wrong or right about story. What is being suggested here, that everything is just auto-corrected, that really nothing is happening. No one is doing anything. Nothing is happening. There's no time for this to happen to. There's no one for this to happen to. It's like this error that keeps on getting repeated over and over again, and there seems to be an autocorrector that always leads to nothing. Behind everything is nothing. Everything is nothing. And it's just all of this labeling of something that is an error. Labeling this, that, labeling this, that, and it's just all labels. So what's being expressed here is that, so what? It just goes into this reset level of so what? Who cares? It's just a flow of things. It's just ups and downs. It doesn't mean that there's going to be, so what if there is anger sometimes? So what if there is frustration sometimes? That's all really nothing. It's all empty. It's all emptiness. It's all emptiness already. It doesn't even need concentration. It doesn't even need understanding. But the holding on to that contracted energy that holds on to these ideas of permanence. The idea that this is my identity. It's like, I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm frustrated. I am this, I am that. The moment that the I comes in, it's kind of like the suggested, offering of that this is separation. So the autocorrection that this is just anger happening, this is just sadness happening. It's like an open house that I talk about. So there's always an open house, but there's no one home. There's no one holding on to the guests that come. So the guest could be sadness, the guest could be joyfulness, the guest could be um, whatever it is. It could be pain, it could be blissfulness. But everything that is in this apparent illusory appearance is temporary. So holding on to happiness, holding on to sadness, holding on to, it's like an autocorrection is that there's no one to hold on to it. The prolonging of happiness, the prolonging of sadness. So it's being suggested here that it's already autocorrected. There's nothing correct or incorrect, but what's being expressed there is that it's already all right. It's all right as it is. It's okay. There's nothing wrong or right about sadness. There's nothing wrong or right about grief. There's nothing wrong or right at all. And all of these labels are just expressing something that is just this dynamic movement of stillness that no one knows about. The mystery. That's this. If you have any questions, let's explore. Apparently. Marcy. Hi, Marcy. Did I lose Marcy? Oh, hi.
Best. The best, the best. Oh, that was so great. That was just right.
Oh,
Did you
thank
hear
you.
me? Did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Okay. The end, when you were speaking with Petra, thank you, Petra. There was something about what you were saying about the hopelessness. I've been, like avoiding the term hopelessness because I always keep on having hope that I'll get there someday.
Yeah.
With all this searching and seeking and the striving and it's just been so aggravating because that hope just keeps on perpetuating. And in the morning I wake up and I'm so I just can't sleep because there's this neurosis that she mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra.
And it's not self-correcting because it's just there all the time. And it's like, and today I just woke up with it again. I said, okay, now today I've got to talk to Emerson because I can't deal with this anymore, right?
Yeah.
But then when she mentioned the hopelessness and it's just the end of the dangling carrot and it's just, oh, wow. And then this autocorrection. I mean, sometimes I get frustrated with autocorrect because it suggests something that I don't want to say. But anyway.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean it's nothing? It's autocorrect there. You're like, no.
So, I mean, I've had, so many glimpses of nothing and it's just so incredible. And then I wake up and I'm worried and I'm fearful and I'm neurotic. And it's like, when is this going to end?
Yeah.
And then I just hearing this talk is just, and what you said about the hopelessness, it was just so powerful.
Yeah, it's the hopelessness is.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, the hopeful keeps on, browsing around in the hopeless, in the hope, merchant, the online, or whatever it is that it seeks, right? And it just hope is suffering, because reaching for that dangling carrot. And I was there, Marcy. That's why I can relate to the seekers. You know what I'm saying? That I'm glad to express it, right? Because I went through the opposites, right? Like I tried to be holy. I tried everything that they wanted me to do, right? I tried to read the scriptures, everything.
Tried everything. And, the latest thing is breath work. Somebody said, well, breath work can clear your pain because I'm in pain. It's like, well, all right, and that's not working either. Nothing fucking works, And I tried everything. And I've been meditating for 50 years and I've been on the path for 50 years. And it's like, okay, when is it going to work? And it just doesn't. And just to see that is because I keep on hoping, well, all right, so now I'm hoping that I'll drop,
Yeah,
that the,
yeah,
the
yeah.
me will drop. And there's just another hope there.
Yeah.
I've substituted you for, and you're not my teacher, but I've substituted you for my teacher. And then
Yeah.
someone said recently on some kind of YouTube that I saw, that the teacher just perpetuates the suffering,
It
because
does,
your
yeah.
attachment to the attachment to the
Yeah.
teacher perpetuates the suffering. It's like, oh my God.
It
So it's
does.
like
It
this
does.
endless loop, the endless loop,
The endless
that
loop,
just,
yeah. This is kind of like you know what? This is kind of like, this is just another story. This is the last stop to go back. There's nothing to see here. And that's what the dangling carrot is like. Go further, go further, go further. Breath work,
yeah, yeah,
pranayama,
yeah,
sadhana,
yeah. I've done
darshan.
it, been
Yeah.
there, done that.
Come here, come here. This one is a
Got
stop
the
sign.
t-shirt.
Stop. There's no you.
So, I
And
mean, then,
it
yeah,
go ahead, yeah.
go.
No, 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 go
Go,
ahead.
go,
I
go.
forgot what I was gonna say.
So did I. But that talk was just what I needed. Thank you. And Petra, thank you for your expression too, because, and then am I just labeling myself as this depressed, sad, that will never come out of this? No, I am emptiness. There's just, not I am, but there's just emptiness here.
Yeah, yeah.
And just seeing that, I keep on coming back to the old terminology.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
have
okay.
it.
That's all right.
Have
That's
it.
all right. I was talking to
Yeah.
someone that kind of like in the last meeting, because someone this person basically said that are we on acid? Are we on acid? so, so this person
Yeah.
basically had this person wants to be anonymous, I guess, had depression, and for because it was so stuck in that mentality, in that identity that I am depressed. So when it was, I think I don't know what I was even talking about. So basically said, I feel like I'm on acid. And then, I think about 30 minutes into the conversation goes, is it okay if can I call you back? I'm going to look in the mirror to see if my eyes are dilated. Because it really believed that, I'm like, how did you slip acid through this meeting? And I'm like, I did not. Because there's this, when the identity is so hopeful, you know what I'm saying? Or when it's identified with hope, sometimes, because there's this depression or there's this sadness and everything, so it clings to hope of
Yes.
ending that the end of suffering, the end of this and that. So its identity becomes hopeful.
Yeah. And this
Hope,
will do it.
the hope
And this will
maintains
do it.
the hope
Yeah, yeah.
maintains the depression. The hope
Yeah.
maintains the suffering, because it's a going back and forth, right? I'll get there. I'm not
It's
there
also
yet.
future oriented. I had a
Yes.
teacher, God bless her. She means well, but
Yeah.
she was making me project into the future about how wonderful things will be.
Oh,
Okay.
no, no, no.
Talk about manifestation and manifesting your desires. And I'm saying, oh, I don't want this.
Yeah.
I never signed up for this. It was just like, didn't make sense. It didn't
Yeah.
make sense.
But
Then,
meditation in that essence is also like that, though, if you really look at it. There's nothing wrong or right about that, but it's projecting into something that's peaceful when it's already peace. It's
and
going
longing,
inward when there's no
longing.
inwards and outwards, right? It's
Yeah.
every movement is an illusion. So trying to move, trying to avoiding, resisting, projecting is all an illusion. So this
Okay,
is already, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
let me ask you about,
Yeah.
I often wake up. Why? I mean, when I'm asleep, I'm fine. Deep sleep is always fine.
I hope so.
often wake up with worries,
Yeah.
fears, about politics, about the I mean, I don't watch the news, and then I'll suddenly I'll see something on passing by on Facebook. Oh no, I didn't want to see that, and it brings up so much fear. What's the best way? I mean, just to come back to nothingness, I guess, right?
There's a story
Just to
that
see that it's a story, right?
there's a story that
Because
someone told me about this apparent sage. You know what I'm saying? That when it woke up in the morning and said, "What do you have for me right now?" Bring it. bring it. There's just an openness to it, right? It could be like, oh fuck, worry's back again. Hi, worry. How are you? There's no dualism, but it's not you anymore because it's seeing that this is just wholeness appearing as this separate worry, this separate care, this separate concern. But it's actually not separate at all. It's just emptiness concerning, emptiness worrying. There's no separation. It's just what is.
I just get so immediately sucked in,
Yeah.
identified right with it, and it just becomes
And that's also it.
this thing on my back that
That's
just
also
won't
it.
quit, you know?
That's also it.
Yeah, yeah. I
Even
remember you telling me
yeah.
that's it. You know?
That's it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sometimes kind of like, and this is just a fun, like I don't really like bringing this up, but I will. It's kind of like when I had that broken rib, right? Saying the rib, my family didn't even know. So I would kind of like turn to the left and there'll be this stinging pain. So it's like, oh,
Yeah,
there's the aliveness again. Wow, it's so alive. It's so intense. This
that's great.
aliveness is so intense. Wow, I'm not a victim of it because there's no one here to be a victim. Then I turn
You know,
again.
that's a great thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, to call it aliveness instead of
it's
pain. Because I have
aliveness.
this
Yeah,
pain,
it's
and just to
aliveness.
say, oh, look at that aliveness instead of
It's
that
really
pejorative
painful. It does.
label.
It probably will be more painful because it's not avoiding it. But the stories, the intensity of it is what is.
Yes.
It's what
Yeah.
is, right? It's not about avoidance. So this is not a how do you call it? This is not a bypassing of that. This is a full embrace, because there's no one that can avoid. It's just an embrace. It's just whole. It is what itself. What it is, what it is. So
Even
when
that new label is so helpful because instead of a pejorative label, pain means suffering.
yeah,
But aliveness is just, a sensation is aliveness,
and all of this doesn't really matter because they're just labels. Even aliveness is a label. Ultimately, I'm saying all of these labels are just all emptiness that we call
Yeah.
aliveness, that we call emptiness, even that we call pain. So when there's just this aliveness appearing as aliveness, as whatever it is, right? It's kind of like an autocorrection. It's like there's this wholeness now, right? And it's not, it's shifts and shit are the same. You know what I'm saying? It's really shitty today. Oh, this is really
shifty today.
really shifty today.
Oh God! Thank you so much.
It's like it's like trying to control the weather outside. Sometimes the weather is going to thunder and storm. Sometimes it's going to be clear sky, but it's really nothing. That's what I mean. But it's autocorrect. It's just this because an appearance is an appearance, and if you look at things, for example, everything turns to dust.
Yeah.
Everything is nothing. There's just this sequence of time, what I'm saying, that is this prominent in this apparent illusion of separation, because time is a great divider. For example, when you say, oh, when is this pain going to go away, it feels longer.
Yes.
Right?
I noticed that now.
You notice.
Instead of question. Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong about questioning about when it's
and it was going on and on
Yeah.
and on.
Yeah.
And when I just notice it and just say, oh, there it is, bye, it
Yeah.
seems to evaporate more easily.
It does, because you know what? It's not it's like how do I say it? It's like
Not held on to.
when you are caught up in a cult or a scam, you know what I'm saying? There is a there is this hope that it's not true. That it is legit, right?
Yeah.
Everything is untrue, but you're hoping that it's true. That's why it prolongs it, because there's this belief in it that this is me, that, oh, poor me. For example, if I'll use the pain story again. If there was a victim there, it would have created a big Facebook post, taking pictures of myself, contacted all my family, taking a self-defense class, have a lot of anger, you know what I'm saying?
Pity party.
And then
Pity
create
party.
create a GoFundMe, you know what I'm saying? Poor me, you know what? And I'll create a movement, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, I'm empowered to speak about this because I was a victim. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. and it becomes the identity. So identity ultimately is the trap, right? Because for
For
example,
everything.
for
For
everything,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying earlier, I'm like, it's good to be canceled. It gets to get knocked off sometimes because when you're canceled, you're like, oh shit, what to do now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a grieving of what held on to, a position that was held on to, because everything gets maintained by a position. So what's really a position when it gets autocorrected? It's just a word,
Nothing.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. So every single position is just an appearance. Again,
Very
when
good.
all of this, when the reset button, there's no button. I'm just making a story at night, or when you're doing something, you don't notice the reset button, that it's empty. It's always empty. It's kind of like when you're when you're browsing too much on the internet, you have to clear the cache. It always gets cleared. It's always empty.
Mm.
And then sometimes you're lagging, like, oh, my browsing kind of, like, that's what happens to you. When you see this news, is because your search function is too intense, right?
Too much searching.
Your search
Too much
engine is
seeking.
you're too much seeking, right? It crashes, and then sometimes you scream, enough. But it's always
Thank
empty.
you.
Yeah. Thank
Fantastic. Thank you so much. The
thank you,
best.
Marcy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emerson, can you hear me?
I can. Yes, I can. Hi, Steve.
Hi, I'm walking and I can't,
Oh, okay. Okay, no
for
worries.
some reason the video is not working. I just quickly wanted to say backspace, control, alt, delete.
Delete, delete.
Yes, thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for that, Steve. Yeah. Backspace, control, alt, delete. Okay. Got it. Got that, Marcy? Although there's no one deleting, there's no one doing
Got
anything.
it.
Yeah.
Can I chime in again?
Yes, for sure. For sure, Steve.
Okay. I know that each of these stories we're all telling are unique. They're all separate individual stories. But I gotta say, the more I listen, the more I feel like we're all telling the same story.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I didn't have the kind of incredible journey that Jonathan has had. My journey's certainly been different than yours, from yours. But by the same token, it feels like I'm going through the same kind of steps. It it feels like it's all the same.
It's always been the same. It's always been the same. There's really no one here. So everything that you're hearing is just this singularity expressing as stories. There's always this sameness. It's always all nothing. It's all emptiness, but not the nothing that you know. So all of the stories begin to kind of like, feel very similar because there's this resonance of what's being expressed here. It can't even really be explained.
No,
No.
I mean, I listen to Morrison. I go, oh, I know what that is. No, okay, that projection. But I go, wait, that's the same way it is for me. Me, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah.
Um, it's really remarkable,
It is.
or unremarkable, as the case may be.
There's a similarity in the seeking
Okay,
energy.
thanks.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Steve, there's a similarity in the seeking energy, and the stories are just really sprinkles. It's just all this seeking energy that seemingly is contracted, but actually it's really boundlessness as well. It's so boundless that it appears as seeking. There's a sometimes my thoughts are so brutal, it's hard to hear them and to feel what they're saying they represent. Yeah, yeah, I've heard this before. If the apparent thoughts were a person, you would not be hanging out with them. It feels really abusive sometimes. You would steer clear away from that person. For example, if the thoughts are a real person, but they're not. It's really nothing. Hi, Emerson. I can't come up with questions anymore because they keep on getting autocorrected. I don't know what to ask anymore. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Lori. I forgot to ask Lori if you wanted to add to that. I'm not sure if that was answered your question. If you want to pipe in, you can or not. Just those thoughts could sometimes be so strong and grabbing me, but thanks for response. Yes, the thoughts can, it's not about um whatever seems to be happening is just an appearance of something that is impermanent, something that is temporary, something that is always changing. So sometimes the thoughts can be, extreme. Sometimes it could be just about shopping or whatever. There's nothing wrong or right about that. But when it's seen that that appearance of extremity or not really that much of an effect, it's just an appearance. It's just an ing. It's just an illusion. Um, the seeming strength of that kind of like effect seemingly seems to lessen when it's not seen as something that is real, when it's seen as just this feels absolutely real, but it's also not happening because it's like an app. It's kind of like believing everything that Siri says, or it's just what's happening, and there's an okayness to it. There's peacefulness to it, to whatever reaction it may be. Could be anger, could be frustration. That's just what's happening. It's not the entire identity, so to speak. You're welcome. Can you talk about worrying about people, what people think of you? Um, the seeming idea that there's others that is thinking about you is just an idea. The seeming idea that there is something to worry about other people is just your own perception of what seems to be happening, what seems to be perceived as real. So what's being suggested is that what seemingly is happening in this perspective, for example, of you worrying about what other people think of you, is just another fantasy of others. In a dream of separation, in a dream of reality, There's going to be an appearance of everything that seemingly feels absolutely real, like, holding a glass, like other people, or like the idea of someone thinking of you in a certain way. But that's just a dream. It will feel absolutely real, but there's also an emptiness in all of the things that is being discussed here. There's always going to be this. You can never. Okay, let's just put it this way, Kane. You can never go to another person's thought, meaning that there's no other reality other than what your perception of reality is. You can't jump into this apparent character's thoughts and say that he's sharing the same reality as mine, meaning that you're really just alone and there's even not you. And there's an appearance of, people here in this meeting, but it's just an appearance coming from you, from your perspective, or anyone is listening to this whatsoever. And that seems to be seen that since there's only this perception, since there's only this perceiver, and there are no other perceivers, everything that you think about others is illusory, including thinking that there's others is also an illusion. So people pleasing ends with apparent liberation. Yeah. Yeah, seemingly. Everything is allowed, of course, you know what I'm saying? But from this character, the people pleasing seem to have, it's not a doormat anymore. When there was this energy here of contracted that it worried about others. It was concerned about being liked. It was fueled by this apparent idea of insecurity, that there's something wrong with me, or there's something lacking. um when it's seen that there's actually just this apparent, it's just sensations. It's like an itch. It rises and it goes. It's really nothing. So when everything is seeing that everything is just a movement, an inging, a happening, and it's not really happening, um, then the weight of that, identity of insecurity, the weight of that idea about people pleasing, of what people think always seems to diminish. It's not believed anymore, because the perceiver, that's perceiving all of these perceptions of insecurity, others, is seen as non existent. Phantom, unreal, but feels real. Thank you. Hello, Lori. Hi. Oh, okay. Hi, Emerson. You mentioned open field in your intro. It reminds me of Rumi. Yeah, yeah. Um, in this openness, everything arises. Um, everything is allowed. In this openness, everything is appearing. But whatever is appearing doesn't have any labels, but there's a labeling of wrong or right, you and me. So when it's seen that everything that's appearing in this open field is also the openness, it's also the aliveness, the awakeness, whatever you might want to call it. When the labeling gun is seen as just an illusion, then everything that rises is just complete. There's nothing needed. There's nothing to be get rid of, nothing to be avoided. It's just this undeniable clarity that everything is already this. Can you talk about doing things you don't like doing, such as going to work? um, Apparently, and this is just a story. This is really irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? This character just only does things that it loves. It doesn't really do things that it doesn't love anymore. But that's just this character, right? Um, it is what it is. For example, if seemingly, you know what I'm saying, seemingly I had to go to a work, you know what I'm saying, to support my family or myself that I didn't like. It's just what's happening as well. Likes and dislikes doesn't really matter anymore. It's just what is. Since there's no one that can choose to do what they like or don't like, um, then it doesn't really matter. It's just what's happening. So any situation that the characters put in, it could be desirable or undesirable. It's just what is. It's just aliveness as appearing as um, the unlike or the like. Same thing. Apparently, in this character's appearance, there's this seemingly liking what it does. But if it apparently goes into a situation and it has to do some stuff like work in a grocery, or there's I think there's humility in this character that it is just what it is. Oh, hi, July. Hello.
Hello, Emerson. I
Hi.
was just wondering. Hi. I was just wondering how uh, you talk with a child.
How do I talk to a
Uh,
child?
mhm.
Um,
Um,
about
For
this?
example, just in the daily communication, you have a child, you have a
No, I
daughter,
don't.
I think, huh?
I don't.
Oh,
No, no.
I'm
I have
sorry.
I have
I'm sorry.
nephews and nieces.
Oh,
Um,
okay, okay.
my during pandemic, my brother, because there were no available babysitters, so I was babysitting a lot. My nephew and my niece, and there's just aliveness here, right? There's just this aliveness, and there's just this playfulness. Um, it doesn't see the kid as a kid; it just see it as it is. I don't know if that makes sense. It
I
sees
just,
emptiness and everything. Yeah.
yeah, but the child has, or a teenager, I don't know if a teenager is able to understand this kind of communication. But for example, a child is coming, running, or your nephew is coming, running towards you and says, he or she hit me so much, it hurt me, and I have a problem in the school, and I'm in love with him or with her.
Yeah.
I suppose you won't say, oh, it's nothing happening. There's no I
No,
don't
no,
think
no.
so. Yeah.
No, it perhaps, what I'm saying, if it hears a teenager kind of like having, difficulties about, it will just be a good listener and be there, what I'm saying, to buy ice cream or go to a mall or something. Um, there's this tendency not to preach anymore, try to fix things anymore, because it is what it is, right? It just offers a support, you know what I'm saying? To an apparent, if my niece comes with, she's heartbroken or whatever, I'll probably say, "Where's that dude?" Or "Where's that girl?" Whatever, what I'm saying. But it's just a normalness. But there's just an openness. It's not going to talk about that nothing's happening. This is just, um, or maybe we'll say that it is what it is. I'm not sure actually. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we're just talking, but I have a nephew. He's quite young. I think he's 6 years old. That seemingly kind of like there's an openness to everything. Listens to this. He had no choice because I was babysitting him and I was working at the same time. So I would do one-on-ones and he'd just be sitting quietly, and playing with this iPad or something, and there'll be question, what are you talking about? And then I'll just be honest, I'm like talking about that this is just whatever I said to him. So there's this clarity, and but yeah, there's just no interest in sharing this unless it's being asked. So somebody asked me, what are you talking about? I'll just usually say nothing really, which is, what is. Um, but if someone's really kind of like digs in, for example, like a nephew or a niece, kind of like, I really want to know what you're talking about. I'm interested. Then there'll be just a sharing of it. Yeah.
Mm.
There'll be an openness about it.
When I was a child in our family, I come from a Turkish family,
Mm.
very spiritual,
Yes. Yeah.
but like Rumi, this mystic, much more mystic
Yeah. Yeah. Rumi.
spirituality.
Yeah.
Hmm. And I was really raised up with the slogan, "This world is an illusion, nothing happens." And I
Oh, wow.
wasn't able to understand it, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. Beautiful. It is an illusion and it's not understandable, right? Because to understand it is also an illusion.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was screaming, "This bird is an illusion." There's also a Turkish song about this, and of course I didn't know what I was talking. I
Yeah.
was a little girl.
All I could think of right now, to be honest, July's Turkish delights. The candy is so good. I have a sweet tooth.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, come to Vienna.
yeah.
I will
One of the one of
go
the
with you to Turkish restaurants.
one of the participants here delivered some gulab jamun. It's like an Indian sweet. Oh, I ate like 4 or 5 of them last night. It was so good. Thank you. But yeah, whereabouts are you, July? Whereabouts in Turkey are you?
No, I do currently live in Vienna,
Oh, in Vienna. Oh,
but
okay.
my parents. Well, I was born and raised up in in Germany.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you something. I forgot.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Maybe maybe we'll come to Vienna. I will show you then the
Yes.
best
Turkish delights.
sweet
Nice.
Turkish delights. Yeah,
Okay. Deal.
deal.
All
But
right.
hurry up, I won't stay so long here.
Oh, no worries. Stay as long as you want. It's all right. Oh, no worries, Lori. I hope he gets better soon. Was Emerson a religious character? Was when he was in religion? Um, it's just a story. It's not really relevant, but I'll just say it. There was a character that was religious, but was always a rebel. Was always wild in spirituality, in religion, even in non-duality. It is what it is. A troublemaker of some sort. Hi, Emerson. What are your views about taking psychedelics to reach enlightenment? Um, there's no such thing as enlightenment, so taking psychedelics, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? If people want, it's just an experience, though. This character has done that actually several times. Tried the five MEO DMT, did all of that. It's just an experience. An experience is just a dream again. It's just an expression of this. It could be really kind of like euphoric. It could be really blissful, but what seems to appear is just this temporal um, um, reaction to the seeking energy, and it goes down. As I was mentioning in the other earlier talk, when I was getting really, really desperate, I tried, someone recommended, you should do ayahuasca. And the first trip was very enlightening, you know what I'm saying? And the third trip, it was very hellish. And then some people actually went to the hospital on the third day. So um, if you're going to try it, you know what I'm saying, there's nothing wrong or right about it, but just be safe. You have a make sure that there's a trip sitter or something, but it's not about it's just an experience. Again, it's not about reaching something. I know that there is a popular YouTuber that claims that it is enlightenment, um, and this parent seeing of that, it's just another experience. It's just another attainment, but it's what starts also ends, and the ending can be really be devastating. So what seems to be like a really, really good high, like like you have unlocked all of the secrets of the universe, uh, crashes because there's no secrets in the universe. So it's just another hyped idea of how to get there. But it is quite euphoric, and it also can be on the opposite side. It can also be really freakishly scary. Yeah. Do you recommend it? I don't recommend it, and also I don't really whatever. It's not recommended, but it's also yeah. It's whatever. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. There's no one choosing to do it or not anyway. Um, it's just another. It's like another um, attainment, right? So if I was going to be asked now if I would do it again, no, because it's not trying to escape this anymore. It's not trying to alter this apparent happening because it is what it is. When I was, when I did that in the past, it was an attempt to um, get something better than this. But there's nothing better than this. This is what it is. Seemingly it's popular, but you know what? It's if you're going to do it, just make sure that you do it with safety.
I
Hi.
hey,
Hey,
hi.
Jonathan.
I didn't raise my hand. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
But yeah, I was big into mushrooms
Yeah, yeah.
for a while and psychedelics. But it was the fanatic in me,
Yeah. Likewise,
um,
likewise. Yeah, it would do anything and try everything.
and the extreme experiences and the extreme enlightenment moments,
Yeah.
and realizations and all that. But like just like everything in seeking, it left me having to go back for more, and then I got into microdosing, and listening to songs while I, microdose, and it's
Yeah.
just like it's
It
like
just never
endless. It's just
ends.
like seek. It's the merry-go-round, and I love what Steve was saying before. Like we're all the same because it's that seeking energy that we're talking about. Whether it's seeking, like we were talking about religion earlier and how that, but like politics is the same way. It's like we're gonna do something. There's a separate me that's going to do something that's going to make something better, whether it's finding the right spouse, getting the right job, raising my kids right. It's all that same energy
Yeah.
of the monk and the acid tripper and the
Yeah.
going to India. And the only thing that's missing here is the prasad, the gulab jamans.
Oh, the
And we
gulab
used to have
jamun.
prasad, and we would have those gulab jamans,
Oh,
these
it's
Indian
so
sweets. They're
good.
so good.
So good. I had like and I ate again, in the on the break. I'm like, oh, this is so good. I wish I can share it with you. It's so good. So good. Someone Leva just said they say you have to feel the calling about ayahuasca, but it's the same for everything. I thought I had a calling for being a teacher. I had a calling for being a spiritual. Did you feel like you had a calling for being a monk as well?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But now
yeah.
it's seen that it was just
It's just
because it was at a hat. Like, oh my God, this is the high.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
this, I'll be a badass, really.
yeah,
My parents, oh, that he's a successful lawyer. Well, check this out. I'm
yeah.
a monk. I gave up everything. I mean,
Yeah.
really, what it is it's just seen after leaving the devastation of it is just the spiritual pride is revealed. I mean, I'm sure your experience was it's the spiritual pride of like, oh my God, I thought I knew something. I thought
Yes, I
I
thought I
was
was onto
superior.
something. I thought
Mm-hmm.
I reached the ultimate that no one could compete. There was this kind of like silent competition between my cousin and I, right? My cousin, more on him because his mom always compared him to me. She's like, "Oh, look at Emerson. He's doing this, this, and now." Um, he ended up becoming. So I was working with people with addictions, and he's a doctor that works with people with addiction, but somehow people thought that I was still doing more superior stuff than him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was
Yeah,
doing the
yeah.
saintly version of that. They're like, wow, Emerson is giving up everything to help people.
Yeah, like Mother Teresa,
Yeah,
or
yeah. So
Gandhi.
it was the
Yeah,
spiritual pride was so high, right? That I can't fail at this,
yeah.
but I can't do this anymore, right? So
But it's so subtle, and you can't. Well, it's not really subtle, but I couldn't see it until until it hit me over the head like a tsunami, and it's like so obvious. But
It was so obvious. So yeah, so all of that imagine calling and all of that kind of like, purpose and everything, all of that superstitions basically washed away. I'm like, holy crow. And it was always known though, that all of this seeming kind of like, purpose, that it was really BS. But who am I to, although there was kind of like red flags, you know what I'm saying, of what was happening, right? Kind of like even doing kind of like ayahuasca, all that kind of stuff like that. But I persevered. There's a
Yeah.
perseverance. There's a maintenance of it, right? That I'm onto something. I'm onto something. It's always avoiding this. You know what I'm saying? So
Right, right,
whatever's
right, right,
offered,
right.
right? So
This,
the
yeah, yeah. It's
this,
like Marcy was saying, the breathing, the this, it's always
oh
something than this. It's not
yeah,
this. And
yeah,
what you were saying before with the autocorrect, and that this is nothing, and that there's no one.
yeah,
It's running into the brick wall and
yeah,
just going, okay.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
I finally found what nobody was looking. I mean, what I was looking for. I
yeah,
finally found it in the dead end, in the
yeah.
emptiness
It's
of it all. You know what I
yeah.
mean? In the hopelessness, like
It's in
Marcy
the
said, the
hopelessness. Yeah,
hopelessness.
yeah.
Because the
And
whole fucking journey of me
hope.
is
It's
gonna get
fueled by
something.
hope, fueled by
Yeah, it's
faith,
all,
belief.
yeah.
All of this imaginary stuff. Because really, at the end of it,
And market. Look at marketing. Sorry. Please
yeah, yeah. No,
continue.
go
Go
ahead, go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Look at
No, like
marketing.
marketing, you know what I mean? Like just do it. And it's all like we're trying to sell something. So of course we need to give you hope. These shoes are gonna make you jump higher,
Yeah.
this new computer is gonna make you work better. It's on and
Oh
on and
yeah,
on,
yeah.
right? Because we're
And it's always on to the next one, right? You're midway through this and you're already thinking about when I was falling apart as a spiritual teacher. I'm like, well, I'm going to switch to Buddhist and I'm going to be a monk. So I was looking at monasteries. I was kind of like Googling them. And then one of
yeah,
my friend goes, you're just really, one of my really kind of like friend that's just honest with me goes, you're just escaping. I'm like, no, no,
yeah,
no. I
yeah,
feel like a calling to be a monk now. I don't know what you're talking about. So calling is just another idea. Calling is just another kind of like, fantasy, right? I am being called to do this. There's a spirit. There's something that is calling me to do this. And I must fulfill that prophecy. Or,
yeah,
it's the importance again of this apparent character. And then when I really kind of like looked at it, I'm like, yeah, I'm just really escaping this because I'm a failed teacher. Now I'm going to be a successful monk. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I enjoyed talking to you because the monk thing. I'm like, it's gonna
don't
like
do it, Emerson.
no,
Don't,
no,
don't,
no, not now. You know what I'm saying? But before, but it
no,
was just
I'm joking.
Emerson's a monk now. No, but there was just this. There's always something missing. So maybe if I take another path or something. And if you look at seeking, it's just this frenetic energy trying to
Yeah,
escape this, trying to escape the pain because it doesn't like the pain, trying to escape the frustration. It doesn't like getting frustrated. It escapes the
mhm,
boredom. It doesn't like getting bored, but boredom is also aliveness. It doesn't make sense. But how bored you are is as alive as it is. It's aliveness
mm,
appearing as boredom. It's aliveness appearing as frustration. It is all aliveness and emptiness. And trying to avoid it is it's like denying it of its
mhm.
appearance. It's a denial. It's a rejection. The rejection is, I'm gonna hear my calling now. This fantasy idea of what it should be, to be a monk or to be, or one time, you know what? This is really funny, and there was just this earnestness here. I said, I really want to convert everybody to meditation, so I am going to open up a 40-day, 5 o'clock meditation. Everyone's invited, free to come. Maybe one or two people came and I was just there, 5 o'clock in the morning. But there's this earnestness, you know what I'm saying? But it's just really self-importance.
When I left being a monk, I was so kind of crippled in a way as a human being in the world. I didn't know to be in the world. I was afraid of people that weren't in the group. Like there was just all this duality and this separation. So re-entry, let's say, into the normal world was tough.
You were
And
in jail.
I was a waiter, but yeah. Exactly. It's the same thing. Yeah. But I had a best friend from high school, and I ran into him back in DC. I was coming back, and we ran into each other by chance. And he, and not that this made it any better, but for the character, me, I needed to like man up in a way. And he
Yeah.
grabbed me from behind me, and he goes, and forgive my language, but he goes, "Stop being a fucking pussy and
Yeah.
get your real estate license." But I needed it because I needed to shake me out of like this
Yeah.
whole identity,
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
it just only your best friend from high school could say something like
Yeah,
that to you, and
yeah,
it resonate,
totally. Oh, totally. Yeah. I'm grateful for that. Kind of like when someone kissed my feet, someone came from India. It was a really good friend, I'm saying that, what is this bullshit, Emerson? I'm like, well, it's my destiny, it's my path. I was destined to become this teacher. And he goes, what path? I'm like, well, you don't understand it. And he goes, well, no,
Yeah, you
it's like,
can't
well,
understand.
you don't understand it, but because you're not in a spiritual world. He goes, what's a spiritual world? And I was like, what is a spiritual world?
Yeah, it's great. It's so
Why are
great.
people kissing you from India? He goes, are you from India? I'm like, no. He goes, why are they kissing your feet? Because I'm a spiritual teacher. And he goes, I don't see you as a spiritual teacher. I'm like, well, you know what?
Wow.
Yeah, it was just really kind of like,
He's like a samurai. He just came at you.
it was just coming
That's
at me. And he goes,
awesome.
do you want to have another shot? And I was like really convinced. I was just really brainwashed by it, right? And I was like, and he goes, why are you drinking with me then? And I was like, well, it's kind of like I'm about, because I talked to my mentor, because my mentor basically said, and my mentor, of course, the really amazing person, but was just being earnest. He goes, this is the start of your journey, Emerson. You're going to become this spiritual teacher, and you're going to go to India and everything. And I was like, and I'm like, I need a second opinion, saying I don't really want that. So I called a friend that I have not seen for quite a while, that actually has known me ever since I was 16.
Mm.
So it's a friend that knows me, and we partied together and all that kind of stuff. And he just sees right through. He's known me for a long, long time, right? So, um, and he just basically said, do you really want to do this? And I'm like, well, you know what? It's my destiny. He goes, why are you drinking with me then? I'm like, well, this is kind of like, I'm about to commit into it. And this is kind of like my bachelor's party. So you're one of my best mate, you know what I'm saying? And I just want to tell you that, I'm going deeper into the spiritual world. He goes, do you really like that? And of course I started breaking down. I'm like, I don't really want to do this. And he goes, why are you doing it then? I'm like, well, it's my destiny. And he goes, what's your
Yeah.
destiny then? He goes, how do you know that? I'm like, it's my calling. And he goes, isn't that,
Yeah.
and he will say something like, isn't that just bullshit though? That you're kind of like trying to believe yourself? I'm like, well, you know what? All my life has been leading up to this. So all of these statements were coming out, and he was just chopping it down.
But but it's the same thing as what Steve was saying. It's like we're all the same though. Like, because it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be a doctor because my dad was a doctor. My
Yeah,
dad was a doctor.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what
It's
I
the
mean? Like
same
we
energy.
all have
Yeah.
these belief systems that create this seeking because we think we're a separate person. And that's where this message is. It's just like such, I mean, it's just speechless because it just puts the brakes on all of it. It just
Yes, it
shows that
does.
it's
Yeah.
all just this
Yeah.
self-concocted,
Yeah.
you know.
I was just basically a collection of slogans and sayings.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
sayings like, life is what you make it, or you get what
Right.
you
And
deserve,
we,
all of that kind of stuff. I'm like, what? Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. No, it's just the same. It's like these reality shows with the Kardashians or whoever, we go, oh, they're so shallow, they're so fake. And like, I'm like the same thing, but just in a spiritual robe. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. This is a reality show.
And we just don't want it to end. The character just doesn't want it to.
No.
It doesn't, but it's like, there's no relief and there's no release and there's no real respite until it just, the hopelessness,
The
until
hopelessness,
that,
yeah.
and it's seen.
Yeah. Until all hope
And
is
that
gone.
there's just nowhere to go. There's no one who needs to go anywhere. There's nothing that has to get done. It's like, it's so funny because these are slogans too that I've
Oh
heard
yeah.
for decades, right, from non-dual
Yeah.
teachers. But yet, it's normal though, because when it hits, it's like, oh yeah, it's also normal. Like, this is normal. So what you're talking about, like if someone asks you about a kid, asking you a question, it's just normal. There's no manipulation. There's no
No,
trying.
no,
There's nothing to
no.
prove. It's just none
Yeah.
of that, right?
Yeah. Totally, yeah. It is just happening as it is. You know what I'm saying? It's just whatever it is, it is. There's nothing that you can do or not do to change it. It's just this appearance. But yeah, you know what? I was just caught up in um because when you're so identified with the identity, right? As a
Mm.
teacher, as a of course, you know what, there's this cultishness about this when you are a teacher or a leader or something, because you're leading a flock, you know what I'm saying, of a lost people, and but you have the answers, all of a sudden you have the answers. And
Oh, what a hellish realm, man. And
yeah.
because you can't let it down. You can't let it down for 1 second that
No,
you
you
don't know
can't, you
that
can't, you
there's a
can't.
crack in the veneer. You got to cover
No,
it
no,
up.
no,
And
no. There was one time that like I love dancing. As I said, my mom entered me in dance competition, so I love the DJ culture and the rave and that kind of stuff like that. And sometimes, even when I was not drinking or partying, I just love to dance, and I would get the itch to dance, and I would go to a dance bar, and some of my students would see me, and I would have to prove to them that I'm just drinking water. Who cares if even you're drinking one beer or whatever, or you're whatever, but there's this image
yeah,
that is
yeah,
maintained. And what I like about this communication is there's no image to be maintained. It's just what
yeah.
is, and that's unconditional freedom, not being kind of like like I was even practicing, as I said to you, I'm saying, like a loincloth, like posting, and like, does this look good on me?
It's great. It's
or
so
or
good.
because that's what I think I was going to end up, because I was so convinced that I'm like, well, I'm on my way to full enlightenment. I had my enlightenment, and since and I'm just going to be put, and I created this narrative about it, right? I'm going to be put to so many challenges, and then one day I'm going to be walking around in loincloth, and I'm going to not care about anybody at all, because all this kind of stuff. So it's almost like that's the ultimate
It,
dissociation. You know what I'm saying? That's just the complete
yeah,
denial of everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was the same way. Like when I had my epiphany, all that when I was 18, and I thought, this is what I have to do. And I was like, I got to go to India
Yeah.
and become a sadhu and walk the streets and
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And then I was like, oh, I'm too scared to do that. Like
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not strong. It's so funny. It's like
Yeah.
this, com, you know,
And I was deluded. Remember those sadhus that would have their hand up for like years and they cannot put it down. I don't know
yeah,
if you've seen that one. It's like, oh,
yeah. I've
I
seen
hope I don't
pictures.
I don't get that calling, because I'll probably do it. Like
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
dreadlocks, saying, and their hand is up, and for like years and years that their hand is completely like devoid of life, because it's been held up.
yeah,
The
yeah,
intensity of what people would do to find liberation is just so
yeah.
surprising, right? And it's just kind of like, and this is just all story, none of this is happening, but that extremities of seekers, what I'm saying, that would go to Kumbamela, what I'm saying, and guru shop and everything. And then you'll see gurus, what I'm saying, like the different marketplace for the gurus. There's a guru that has been, my hand has been out for the past 20 years and I'm liberated, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then one guru is like, I've been sleeping on a bed of nails for the past 10 years. I'm better. And then the other one is, it's just all of this marketplace, right? And it's just a maintenance again of this identity that I did this. This is necessary for me to do something. And when you see that marketplace, when you see this kind of like, I'm like, well, you know what? Well, I hope I don't have to do that, but let me find some teachers that I would resonate with and everything. And um and then you see their practices and everything, like I can do that, I can practice that and everything. But it's just this hope of avoiding this,
Yeah.
avoiding this.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just
It's
this.
it's yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's such a paradox because the fanaticism, that was here, it was so strong that it would drive this, it would create the suffering, and it would create the drive to seek.
Oh yeah,
And yet in the story though, I've ended up here.
yeah.
And so for this character, it's just what is,
It
and it, and
is.
it and I'm here, and I, I'm jealous of your buddy who never saw, of the character
Yeah,
who
yeah, yeah.
just got it. You never
Because
had to suffer this whole seeking thing. But
yeah,
like that's not what happened here.
yeah,
That's not
yeah.
my thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
he even rubs it, he kind of like, rubs it in sometimes. He'll be like, I'm like, how many years have you, how many years were you seeking? I'm like, don't even go there, man. It's just this, or the, there's this, Uber driver, what I'm saying, that was just really driving from Uber, and I don't really, and there's just freedom now, because for him it was actually, the suffering was actually his religion. His religion was very, very, I'm not going to mention the religion, but it was very, he had to move,
oppressive.
oppressive. Yeah, he had to move
Uh-huh.
cities, from the next city, and
Uh-huh.
basically kind of like, he's almost kind of like in nothing protection program right now.
Wow. And
Because
nothing
he
was actually.
because he's kind of like, he's changed his haircut. I saw him, and he's just a completely like, the looks, what I'm saying, because when I saw him, he was very
Yeah.
conservative, and and very respectful to his religion. Now that the cat's out of the bag, right, I'm like, whoa, man, it's just like alive, it's just this aliveness. And it's just, I'm like, he's wearing colors and just really happy, and he's the most content Uber driver, ever, right? It's just
Yeah.
and he's basically said, anytime you need a ride around the city, Emerson, just call me. I'm like, no, 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 that's your business, man. I don't want to take away from that. But there was just
Yeah.
this seeing and he doesn't even listen to this. He tried, actually, and he goes, it's all right. I like our conversation better. So there's no more seeking. There's just, it's just
Yeah.
whatever seems to be happening. But his background was this very oppressive kind of like religion, that that there's a lot of rules, there's a lot of stuff, and there was this promise of, when you die, there's paradise with virgins and that kind of stuff. And uh and then he laughs, so he goes into belly laugh, when he thinks about that now, because that was the main attraction, but it doesn't make sense. And now there's just this freedom, what I'm saying, that he doesn't, whatever seems to appear. Like one day he was calling up, and he goes, oh man, I just had a really bad conversation, because I just really opened up to one of my best friend, and my best friend was kind of like really concerned about him, that he should seek psychiatric help and all that kind of stuff. But he said that
Yeah.
he's never felt this kind of happiness his entire life, right? So there's just
Yeah.
this. So to some, to from a religious, seeing one of them kind of like that basically is outside of the religion now, they're seeing that this person's completely damaged, or that person is some psychiatric thing, or worse, it could be a devil, or some, I don't know what they
Right.
call
He
evil
has to
there.
be leveled. He has to
Yeah,
be labeled as a as a devil or whatever,
yeah,
because otherwise he's a threat to
yeah,
other people in the
yeah.
community. Did you have any of that, where when people left your sangha, you would kind of talk trash about, oh, they've fallen,
Yeah, yeah.
they've
Oh, yeah.
temptations taken them
Yeah,
away,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So then
yeah,
other
yeah.
people wouldn't be
They lost the
tempted. So,
purpose. Their
yeah,
their purpose is
yeah,
gone. You know what I'm saying? Their purpose is to help others, now that they become selfish or whatever. All of that kind of
yeah,
stuff, right? It's
yeah,
it's just that preserving. You know what I'm saying? That the identity. So this person, what I'm saying, the Uber dude, what I'm saying, and he said, and he cried because the kindness, basically at the end of it, he goes, "There's something wrong with you, but I believe that you're happy. But from the perspective of the religion, there's something off with you. But I'll leave you want to become anonymous, right? So you're my best friend. We're going to say goodbye now. We're in different
mhm,
worlds, but I love you so much." And I would probably cry too, right? He was just crying, and he goes, this is sweetness. He goes, because um, he said that he was not even trying to convert his friend. He was just being honest of what
Yeah.
happened. And it's the only other person that he trusts, right? Is that person. And but that sadness was just like for a day, and then the next day he was just kind of like, I'm gonna get a really nice haircut now. I'm like, go for it. Because it's just so amazing. You know what I'm saying? That there's nothing I never did anything to. It was just a normal conversation. I was not trying to convince anybody. It was just a conversation of what freedom means, apparently. And I just started talking about this is all freedom, and just that, just a normal conversation, no intention, no agenda. It's just a conversation. So no one did anything, no one asked for anything. It is just what it is. And that's what I like about this communication, is because it's not, people can come and go, no one's being held. In your sangha, probably that's what happened, right? If they're,
Oh God,
yeah.
the guilt, the shame, everything. I mean, and when I left, I can remember lying in bed and my heart being on fire, because what I recognized was I had judged others for leaving for over a decade. Oh, they're weak, they
Yeah.
left. So that same judgment, because it's all me, the same judgment just returned on me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the one who's
Yeah.
fallen, and now, you know what I mean? So it's easy to see how,
Yeah. For me,
oh,
it was all
yeah.
the teaching that I was teaching them. I was teaching them the yamas and the niyamas about or being aware, all that kind of stuff, right? So it's like the 10 commandments, and I'm like, I've broken all of them.
Yeah.
And it's just this contradiction, this hypocrisy, you know what I'm saying, of that I got it, and it's just abused, because there's this I have the power, so I can do whatever I want, but
Yeah.
not you.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I love this message, but I love it coming from you and your story, because it's relatable to to me and my story, so it just made it a lot more whatever, digestible, a lot more,
Yeah.
it just kind of, yeah.
Another one that shares this kind of story is Richard Sylvester. If you read his book
Mm,
Confessions of a Seeker, you're going to be laughing so hard, because it's a
okay.
really, it's a brilliant book about, stealing rum from his guru. His guru likes rum, and all this. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And
Okay, I'll get it.
you'll totally, especially for people that has gone through the whole kind of like indoctrination of going through everything. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like being a disciple, being a guru. He was a disciple, and he was very devoted. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah,
when he
yeah,
came into the meetings with Tony Parsons, he would ask the most ridiculous questions as you could imagine. Coming from spirituality, and coming into, talking to a wall, basically. It's
yeah,
basically autocorrects, and nope, sorry, that's nothing. And here's the seeker kind of like bursting with all of this experiences or whatever, and it's just really being greeted that nothing really happens, nothing is happening. And it's just the most kindest way, you know what I'm saying? Because the seeking energy, you know what I'm saying, is full of hope.
yeah.
So to you know, for a lack of a better term, to gently wake up that hope is nightmare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because it's
yeah,
duality. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You're like, what? There's no hope. And at first it is a despair. You know what I'm saying? It is
It's
kind of like,
awful. Yeah,
it's awful. It's awful. It's kind of like,
yeah,
it's like this fantasy world collapses completely, because it's you know, it's the promise is gone. It's like you feel
well,
like
we
you've
got
been
to
lied
see it
to.
live. We got to see it live and in living color. It was this black screen with these
Mm.
white letters that said Marcy, and then all of a sudden it came to life, and she was like, "It's hopeless," and it was
Yeah.
like this transition from hopeless being the worst thing in the world. I've got to keep hope alive, to
Yep.
like seeing the majesty in
Yeah.
hopelessness.
It is.
That there's
Yeah.
just nothing to get, and
Yes.
that's actually the freedom.
It
And
is.
now the open secret, that's the open, blah blah blah, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
the relaxation that comes with that is,
It's priceless.
Yeah, yeah, it's
It's
priceless.
priceless. It's something that is unimaginable. The normalcy of it all, right? Because there's when specialness breeds specialness. It just keeps on breeding,
Yeah,
breeding, breeding. You know what I'm saying? It's just
and
this.
special experiences
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
ayahuasca or like a
yeah,
meditation that sends you into a transcendent state.
yeah. And if you
And
look at
yeah, yeah,
gurus, you know what I'm saying? They just keep on, or cult, leaders. They just keep on coming up with special stories. Just because they
yeah,
have to maintain, they have to keep the flock in, right? So they have to keep on alluring them with alluring them with carrots and everything. It could
yeah,
be we're all aliens now. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
We're about to go to the spaceship, kind of like that. What was that cult? That
Oh
every
yeah, Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate, yeah, or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Meanwhile,
Where they
yeah,
all
or
totally for
David
themselves
Jones.
because the
Meanwhile, he
Halley's
was
Comet was coming. Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah, that one. Yeah,
That
yeah,
one everybody drank, and there's another one that I was just watching. It's about this mother that killed her kids because she
yeah.
thought that she was with the prophet, and somehow her kids were kind of like monsters or something, or evil.
Have you watched? Yeah, 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 yeah.
She
Just
basically
insanity.
rated she
Yeah.
rated the kids kind of like of how they're spiritually this is a -7 person, meaning it's
Oh
evil,
God.
or this is a plus, of course they're perfect. It reminds me of David Hawkins enlightenment guide of this is kind of like there's an enlightenment level 1, level 2, level 3, and of course I'm convinced that I'm at the highest level. I just have to get there.
Right, right, right. Oh
and I'm,
yeah, I
and,
remember
and
that.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure most of people are convinced that they're at that level 2 of the highest kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
And did he rate all these gurus or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there was
yeah.
actually a person, on Facebook that basically said, I wanted to rate your spiritualness and everything. And I bet you he rates everybody quite high up to get them hooked, right? So I was
Right.
laughing at it. I'm like, oh, goodness. Kind of like, block. it's just,
Wow.
it's a marketplace, right? It's a marketplace. It's a marketplace.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's, wow. Yeah.
Have you watched any of the Leah Remini with Scientology?
Oh,
How
yeah,
she's
yeah.
some of that's super powerful. I mean, from from this point of view of just kind of seeing through the illusions and the
Oh
insanity
yeah, oh totally.
of the stories and
And
all
it
of it.
starts with a belief system. That's
Yeah,
basically it. It's a belief system. It's a belief that this is real, and to maintain the reality, then they'll create supernatural stuff, right? Like
yeah,
aliens in Scientology. You know what I'm saying? This is really the meaning of life, and this is all this kind of stuff, all of this made up stuff that's made real, or kind of like in the Mormon tradition. You know what I'm saying? There's this
yeah,
they
yeah,
will recycle that story of the prophet, you know what I'm saying, and all of a sudden they're the prophet.
yeah,
Or if you look at the evangelicals, you know what I'm saying, all of a sudden the evangelicals are Jesus. All of a sudden I am Jesus now, right? Or God is
yeah,
talking to
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah,
And of course,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying, the seekers are really gullible and vulnerable. Or there'll be
I
people
was.
now that'll be saying that I'm the new Ramana. You know what I'm saying? All that kind of
Hmm.
bullshit is bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Emerson.
Oh, no. No. July goes. A female friend once told me that she did lose her me and freaked out. Landed in the clinic, got pills. Finally, her me turned back. If you don't know anything about Nomi, this can be really a knockout. Yeah. There's actually a condition apparently when there is it's a dissociation or something. Um, um, Someone actually yeah, I'm not really sure about it, but yeah, if you want to talk about it, July, please go ahead. But yeah, it can be quite scary. It could be a freak out. The other person last night that was listening, the one that asked about what if they were on acid, freaked out a little bit. Freaked out a little bit because really thought that the person was on acid. Actually, had to check. Had to kind of like we were talking on the phone. Had to kind of like say, "Can I call you back because I want to check if my eyes are dilated." So when the person came back, he goes, I'm actually fine. It feels like all the lights got turned up. Doesn't even know what was happening. But yeah, it can be quite surprising, or it can be really normal. Patrice goes, nothing, nothing protection program. Love it. Especially how paradoxical it sounds. Yes. Oh, thank you, Tanya. Yeah, that was a great exchange. Thank you, Jonathan. It's so hard to be in the me limbo, where all of those stories lose their meaning, but still, you're still living separately. There's no one living separately. Actually, that's just another me idea. It's all stories. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Thank you, Tanya. It's about to rain here and it's beautiful. Hi, Emerson. Is it easier for people that have not been into spirituality or not religious to accept this communication? It's just a story. It could be. It could be. You know what I'm saying? Everything is possible. Um, there are seemingly people that will not even have any interest in this, right? Um, so sometimes accidents do happen, like, like someone just basically talking about this. I think Tony has a story about people that came in and didn't really understand the language, and they just got seated by mistake, and apparently had an opening. There's a story of an apparent a friend, you know what I'm saying, that was just really was curious about what this is, and there was just this honest sharing of what it is, and there was just an openness or curiousness on seemingly what was going on. So when that openness was met with this apparent sincerity, there was just this dropping away of the idea that there was any separation. But this is incredibly unbelievable. So it's not for the mainstream, so to speak. Although there's no others, but in the story, it's like a religious person would not normally jump into this. uh, and even spiritual people are very reluctant to listen to this. There's actually a big kind of like breaks kind of like that stepped on when they hear this, because spirituality is the maintenance of the self, consciousness, source, all that kind of stuff. It's still a belief system. So any belief system um, is challenged. So anyone that has a solid belief system, when usually presented with this idea, is going to a little bit reluctant to have an openness towards it. There's always going to be some blockages and everything. So seemingly a person that there's a newer kind of like generation of people that did not really grow up from spirituality or religion. It's just they're seemingly kind of like grew up on YouTube. I have nieces and nephews that are that way, and they just they don't even know what TV is anymore. It's just YouTube, because you sit on YouTube. Um, so seemingly there's the sharing of this communication, and it can be attractive. You know what I'm saying, to a person that does not have any hang-ups on spirituality or religion. But again, this is just all story again, right? But thank you for the question. So the answer is, I don't know. Hi, Emerson. You seem to be the most relaxed and relatable but potent teacher. I'm not a teacher uh, of this communication. Um, thank you so much. No, no, thank you. Thank you. No, no, but I'm not a teacher. Oh, no, no, sorry, sorry. I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Emerson, I meant speaker, radical speaker of this communication. I feel that it gets straight to the matter of it without any BS. Thank you. Thank you. If Kenneth Madden was here, would be laughing at this kind of like stuff, and we'll be saying, "Can we put it into a testimonial on our website?" So all this talking about that we are evolving from the third to the fifth dimension is bullshit, probably. Yeah, I actually did that. I was really into that ascension thing towards the end because I was just really wanted to be open to everything. Um, yeah, there's no third, or there's no evolving, there's no great awakening, and that's just another story as well. In this apparent appearance, there's always going to be this polarity, right? There's always going to be this and that, and fifth and third dimension. Yes, this kind of story about evolving is a repeat. It's a repeat from Armageddon. It's a repeat from Judgment Day, Ascension. What do you call that when people can like float up to the sky? What was that term again? From Christians? It's the I can't remember it, but it's the same idea. There's the Great Awakening. There's the that we're evolving. If you listen to a lot of kind of like New Age leaders and everything, there's always going to be this, um, you know, we're going towards this Great Awakening, or more and more people now are awakening. There's going to be there's in the 70s it was called the Day of Aquarius. In the yoga world, it's called the end of um the Kali Yuga or something. There's always this era that it's about to awaken. It's always it's the keeping the hope up, right? That right now it's suffering, but it's about to awaken. It's going to be a great awakening. We're all going to float up into heaven. We're going to, there's this documentary about this ascension, kind of like fifth dimension. It was like, she called it the mother god, but she was really kind of like just this alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? that I don't know if you saw that documentary. Um, yeah, harmonic conversion from the 80s, exactly. The 144,000 chosen ones, yes, from the Mormons, I guess. There's just many different variations of that. It's again that hope of specialness, that hope that it's about to end. The end is near, So this communication is the end is here. It's always this. There's nothing, there's no future. So it goes against the grain of every other teaching and every other kind of like cultish things or new age spirituality, even kind of like the idea of um, the enlightenment, the last step will be taken by the guru, that kind of thing. It's the same shit. The chosen one. Hey Petra, hello.
Hey,
Hey.
am I a chosen one?
You've always been chosen by no one but you.
I was thinking about a question and was just
You're ready to
laughing,
ascend now.
laughing, laughing.
You're
course-
ready to ascend now. you know.
I'm levitating already.
Yes.
You see? um, again about the hopelessness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was beautiful sharing too, Petra. I agree
yeah,
with
yeah,
Marcy. It's beautiful.
yeah. It seems to me that it's more likely the so-called falling away is more likely with people who gave up somehow or are
Lost hope.
hopeless in a good way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So this communication attracts a lot of curious people, a lot of people that have been there, done that, been around the block many times, right? Just kind of like been circling in the rotunda of seeking, or the roundabout way. They follow the seeker, and I hear that story over and over again. They follow the teacher's leading them the way, and it's basically they've done the workshop 20 million times. They've traveled all around, so so their hope is running thin, right? It's just been, it's like a newbie. But there's also going to be new people that are curious about this. But the a lot of people that have been seeking for quite a while. Some people become monks. You know what I'm saying? Jonathan, how long have you been seeking, Petra?
my whole life, I think,
Yes.
20 years on the Buddhist path.
Yes. You should talk to
But
Jonathan. He was a Buddhist monk.
it started already very early.
I remember you were in the Buddhist path, right? And
Yeah,
it's sometimes, what I'm saying, it's um and this is just a story as well. Sometimes in someone that's on a path, they're still kind of like it's kind of like they're still in recovery from that, seemingly.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think I, I always felt it was more about the persons that I like the community, and I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
believe. I already knew that I don't believe in it when I was with them. But yeah, nice people and nice gatherings, and no, it's more um, that I think this character mm, carries a big what do you always call it, the big bag baggage
The
of rocks
backpack.
and
The
backpack. Yeah,
backpack of rocks. Yeah. It
yeah.
got used to it. It likes it.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I got used to it. Yeah, somehow
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
deeply in
Yeah.
uh, ingrained. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Um,
that's just a story again, right? None of that happened. None
yeah.
of this is happening even. So all that's being expressed is just this narrative of someone that was on a path, that's carrying these rocks, that has been, that has, that got used to it, or but what it's getting used to it is just a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but oh, even after hearing this communication, still falling in the old traps, into the old traps of because it's somehow it's something in the brain,
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I
weird
get it.
weird wires.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Weird
hardwired,
connections.
right? It's kind of like in the seeking, it's hardwired to
Yeah,
hold
something wrong
on
in,
to
the hard drive. So
yeah, to hold on to, kind of like, seemingly to prevent from seeing what is being said, because it's always been presented as a path, presented as a teaching, presented as a whatever from the Buddhist path. That's what you're used to, kind of thing. That there's something
yeah,
that needs to be done. That something, although you've left that behind, you know what I'm saying. In the story, there seems to be as you say, kind of like how do you say it? Um,
but
um,
before already this my whole life something seemed to be wrong,
yeah,
and hundred hours on the at the shrinks.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah. It's just what is. Life is being presented this way, and this is just what's appearing as it is. It's appearing
Yeah.
as these stories. It's appearing as this seeming burden, but it's all really aliveness and emptiness appearing as these stories. These stories are alive. It's
Yeah.
aliveness. These stories are all empty at the same time, and it
Yeah.
seems to be in motion, but it's actually stillness, and uh, and it's peaceful in a way when it's seen that way. You know what I'm saying? Not to interpret it, not to kind of like make stories about it, but just to see that it's empty stories, that really ultimately behind it is nothing. What's behind it is nothing, meaning that it's really nothing. And then it comes up with another story, but it feels like, it's really heavy, but that's also nothing. So it's kind of like what I mentioned in the beginning. It's like this autocorrector that there's this error of making something out of nothing, and it autocorrects it back to nothing, because all of this is arising from nothing. These stories, these experiences, and everything. And then when it's kind of like, but what seems to be ignored is the autocorrector, that it's really nothing. Like, no, 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 it comes back with another story. So it, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. But I get you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. It's gonna be interesting. Breakout rooms later. I'll visit. Um, Kelly goes, "This is the ultimate intervention for spiritual addiction." Yeah, it is. Seemingly, yeah, it is kind of like, because that was like when I got into so in my 20s, I was addicted to status and partying and all that kind of stuff, and it just became an addiction to spirituality. And that was just a very, very intense, severe addiction. I'm not sure who said this, but addiction is the opposite of connection.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah. So when it's already whole, what addiction?
Right.
Marcy goes, absolutely. Patrice goes, Bill Hicks, life is just a ride in an amusement park story. Many people have been on the ride long time. Yours truly. It's just a ride. But you can't get off it because there's no you to get off.
And I thought it's too hard. I think I die now. It was before this communication, and now I think, yeah, maybe it was short before dying, but still too much resistance. Yeah.
Well, that's just another narrative, right? Because the resistance is also it. The resistance also aliveness. I'll recreate what Tony said. I hope we laugh soon about this. What we're laughing now. When it's seen that everything that is uttered, you know what I'm saying? When it lacks the seriousness, when there's all of a sudden a laughing track, it's kind of like then it becomes a situation comedy again, not a real situation. It's a sitcom.
And you have to go through a lot, then it's a good story.
Yeah. Sometimes the most comedic one is the tragic comedy. You know, saying when it's tragedy and comedy at the same time. That's how I see, you know what I'm saying, the story of Emerson that happened. It was a tragic comedy. I laugh so hard now sometimes when I tell story of like, you know, the story of me falling apart, you know, me being on the floor drunk, you know, screaming, "Where are the cockroaches?" Isn't that funny? Like the length of all that, you know, seeking and everything, it just became really comedic at the end. um I don't know if you've read Richard Sylvester's book, you know, The Confessions of a Seeker. That's comedic, that's comedy gold. Richard and I kind of like had a conversation, and he was drinking a lot of gin at the end. So at the end of it, it was just this pure gold, kind of like just talking about, you know, everything and anything. And then the next day we talked to each other, and Richard goes, I think a lot of that I think a lot of that talk needs to be in a cutting floor. And I'm like, I'll watch it. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, Richard. I think maybe we should not release it, because there was just a lot of mention about many different people about seeking and everything. And you know how YouTube is, you know, saying it's like somebody can just block you and everything, complain, all this kind of stuff. So we decided not to release it. So during that time, the point is that when we were talking about it, he said that he was such a serious seeker. You know, there was just this seriousness about it, even though he presented with a lot of laughter and everything. You know, when no one's watching, there was this seriousness about it, and I was the same. I was just a serious seeker, even though I made light of it sometimes. You know, but there was just this. It was a burden. It was such a burden, the seeking, and it was just this energy that was so heavy. Um, so when it was seen that that's just all a story, it's just a book, kind of like Richard Sylvester's Confessions of a Seeker, then the laughing track comes on. All right. Um, yes, sorry. I keep on forgetting the time. Sorry. We're going to have a 2 hour break. That's already 2 hours, really? We're going to have a 2 hour break. And I'll see you back in a couple of hours. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Emerson.
Thanks,
Thank
Emerson.
you.
The best.
Oh, thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love you. Love you
Thank you.
lots.
Love you lots
Thank
too.
you.
Love you lots. Bye bye.